Welcome again, Aries. It's March 2014. I'm Dadhichi from Astrological with your monthly synopsis. All those celestial happenings that are affecting you, your life, the environment in which you live. And what I wanted to talk to you about this month is an interesting theme. It's got to do with desire. And the reason I raise that issue is because of the position of Mercury in the 11th sector of desire, and later in the month, Venus, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But, sometimes desires are obstructed. But just because a desire is obstructed doesn't mean it's not meant to happen. Yet on the other hand, sometimes when a desire is obstructed, karma, the universe, providence, whatever you want to call it, intends for you to not have that desire fulfilled. So this month, I think it's imperative on you to discriminate between which desire, which is being obstructed, is meant to happen and which one is not meant to happen. Now that requires a lot of self-examination. And that's going to be all the more important, especially now because you have a new moon in the 12th house, which is that house of inner secrets, that house of the past, that house of those areas within ourselves that we'd prefer to sort of, sweep under the rug. We don't want to know about that. We certainly don't want anyone else to know about that, but often we turn a blind eye to that as well. So in a sense, there's a type of inner spring cleaning in which you can yet remove all the dust and cobwebs and clearly look at the desires you have to see which of these are worth pursuing. Now, there's an interesting phenomenon. 2nd of March, Mars, your ruling planet, and Saturn on the 3rd will go into retrogression. Now, the retrogression, which is this reverse or apparent reverse motion of the planets, indicates a strengthening or an empowerment of those planets. Sometimes it creates a lot of setbacks. But what I'm saying is that those setbacks are for a good reason. Often we instinctively react negatively because, our desires are being obstructed. But I want you to think along with me here. I want you to study why these desires may be obstructed. One of my mentors used to continually say to us as students, the good is not necessarily pleasant. In other words, and I raised this issue last month in my videos, that often the worst things that happen to us are the best things that happen to us in due course, not at the time, mind you. This is where you need to step outside yourself a little and see whether these desires are in your best interest or whether they're really what you want. See, around the same date, March 3rd, we see Venus and Mars moving into the right angle. Now, this brings up all those sexual desires. And sex is one of the, primal instincts. Often we don't think about the consequences. We want to move forward. It's all about self-satisfaction. It's about impressing others. But what are the consequences of those particular actions? What are the consequences of acting out on those desires? That's what you need to be careful of around the 3rd of March. And we also see the intensity of your passion with the Sun and Pluto in the sextile aspect around the 4th. Now, irrespective of whether the desire is good or not, I'm going to predict that some desire may come to fruition after the 6th, when Venus moves to the 11th sector of the fulfillment of your desires. And also you've got Mercury there that's just moved stationary, direct. It's moved forward in its motion. Therefore, the desires that you have, particularly in a social sense, a relationship sense, a sexual sense, are likely to come to fruition. Back to the theme. Is this really good for you? That's the question. I'm posing the question. The answer's got to come from you, though, Aries. And you're going to have a lot more of this stuff coming up throughout the month. And so this 12th sector of secrets, self-examination, is very strongly activated. We see also Mercury moving to the 12th sector. So all the desires that you may have this month are going to shift into a real deep examination of whether those desires are worthwhile for you. We see that after Mercury moves into the 12th house. This may also have to do with some communications that are behind the scenes, communications that you don't want to let other people know about. So discretion, I guess, is the key word after the middle of the month. Most of these aspects that I'm seeing for you aren't too bad. We see some nice sudden and exciting events after the 19th with Venus and Uranus in a favourable aspect, Uranus being the planet of, I'd call it surprises, sometimes not so pleasant, but in your case it should be rather pleasant. And we see some very nice aspects there between Mercury to Jupiter leading up to the 27th. So this last part of the month has some excellent prospects for your communication, advertising, branding yourself or your product if you're in an independent business. So these are all excellent for the mode of making yourself known, communicating your ideas and your brand to the world at large. Again, around the 28th, towards the end of the month, the social affairs that I've been talking about do tend to continue and pick up with some much, much more positive aspects, especially from the Sun, from Pluto, that's around the 28th, and then Venus again to Mars on the 30th. Now, what might have been slightly poor taste in the beginning of the month, or someone that you were simply passionately attracted to, might actually turn out to be a good relationship after all. The final aspect of the month, I think, is a good one, even though it's considered rather difficult. That's the square aspect of Venus to Saturn. But I think given all of these passionate, desirable influences that you've got there, a bit of time out, a bit of a break on all of these impulsive reactions of yours is not a bad thing. And therefore, I think the month should end on a pretty cool, calm and peaceful note for you. Look forward to your company here next month. Don't forget to join me at astrology.com.au for more detailed information on your sign of Aries. Take care now. Bye-bye.